Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming here on such a beautiful evening. So we're going to kick it off with our special programming. So tonight we have President Daniels joining us. President Daniels, can you hear us?
I can. Am I audible also, Asada?
Yep. This is Hannah. We can
You
hear you.
are.
I don't know if we can see you yet though. Let me see.
Well,
Okay,
there I am.
perfect. We can see you now. So I'll go ahead and let
You
you
might
get
be.
started if there's anything off the bat you'd like to say, and then we have some questions that were submitted by our students
Yeah.
that we can get into after that.
Yeah, they're great ones. Well, you might be happier if you couldn't see me, but here I am. So thank you for the invitation. This is an event I look forward to every year, and I'm very grateful, especially this year. Um, I have to start by thanking, as I have so many times, all the students at Purdue. We have, I do believe, as an institution, distinguished ourselves this year. We've been open and as open as any university our size, maybe more so. Not not what we want, not uh, what we'd call normal, but much closer to it. And I give uh, so much credit for that to the students, and I hope that's come through. All the other things we did were important, but none of them would have mattered if students had not stepped forward in leadership the way they have. And so I have to mention PSG because you, Asada, Hannah, and the other members of this group should not take total credit because so many were involved, really everybody was, but you were extraordinarily important in setting examples, helping us think our way through decisions, and then implementing them. And I don't have 152 years of history to call on, but I would wager to say that there's not been a year in Purdue history where Purdue student government leadership made a more important contribution. So I just want to start there, and I hope that doesn't come as news to any of you. But um, this completely unique year in world history and in certainly in Purdue history will always have been marked in my memory by what our students did and what PSG as the premier student leadership group did as a part of that. So thanks for all that. Uh, I'm happy to get to the questions. I want to lay two propositions in front of the group, which I think offer important opportunities, really our need for additional such leadership, the kind I just described. And the first of those is that now, for the happiest of reasons, we've entered a new, um, let's call it stage or chapter in this pandemic um, phenomenon, which as I've been telling our COVID action team that's been meeting every day, at least till recently, um, to try to make sure Purdue could keep operating. I've said to them, our situation, life, is now, in many respects, easier, but trickier and more complicated. And what I mean by that is that for a year or the better part of one, as hard as it was on everybody, students, faculty, staff, us as an administration, to keep Purdue moving and to avoid what happened all over the country, schools that stopped and started, schools that never got past online, schools that didn't even open at all. As hard as that was, it was, in a way, it was simple because we didn't know a lot about the virus, and we had to take, and we did take a fail-safe approach, a leave nothing to chance approach, very strict and absolute rules, masking everywhere, etc. Now, happily, things are much better, and the all the data say, and of course the availability of vaccines, all these changes mean we can open up much more. But it's trickier, as I say, because we have to let off the brake at the right level. And we could use your advice about this. You've seen us open up a number of things. We're making changes in dining, spectators at sporting events and other things. I'm eager to make as many changes as we can without going so far, so fast that we jeopardize all the progress we've made. So we can really use the input of PSG about which changes to make when, how much, how fast. I hope it's been clear all along. I can't wait to get back to what we knew and to fully residential experience where no one has to be inconvenienced and all that. But we can't yet take for granted that we can just take all the wraps off and expect no problems for doing so. So I hope that's clear, but I just want to invite your continued advice and suggestions about which things we can open up at what pace, and which ones you and your fellow students would get the most value out of and find the most helpful. So I hope that's number one. And the second thing is that, I made a little video today for the faculty and staff of Purdue. It's really for everybody, but it's mainly aimed at them. And it makes the following point. All over the world, in enterprises of all kinds, businesses and nonprofits and places like Purdue, we've learned a lot this last year about how to operate in different modes. We've had to do that. And I'm talking about remote work in its various forms. And it is, I think, universally understood that while we won't stay the way we are, we're not going all the way back to the way we were. And in fact, we shouldn't. And here's the specific I want to leave with PSG. I've been kicking myself a little bit lately that I didn't think of this sooner. But there are many student service activities that we're involved in. Things as, I'll call them administrative, as the bursar, the registrar, financial aid, important things like this, but also including academic advising, CAPS and what they do. Many ways in which the university tries to provide service to individual students. And more or less, we have been limiting ourselves to what people call banker's hours, 8 to 5. And if that wasn't convenient to a student, well, maybe tomorrow it will be. Well, that's just not right. And we now know it is certainly not necessary. Many of those very functions could be effectively delivered at different hours and in different ways, remotely, like I'm doing right now. And so we're saying to the faculty and staff of Purdue, we're going to change the way we've been doing things. And we're looking for ways that can be more student-friendly, I'll call it customer-friendly in certain other contexts, things we can do that will be just as effective and maybe more so, maybe more convenient and flexible for the person who is being served. And incidentally, if we do this well, many of our staff would rather do that. It would be more family friendly to them or more convenient to their personal life choices to operate that way. So that's another category in which I would be very eager for the input of students from every direction, but PSG, as we look at as sort of the flagship voice of our students. So, Asada, thank you for the opportunity to be here and the chance to express yet again how I think historic the role of students and PSG as their voice has been this last particular year, and to leave with you these two categories of inquiry that I'm very eager to hear from PSG about now and in the year ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, President Daniels. I wrote down those questions, so hopefully maybe we can gather some feedback as a group to share. Moving kind of into our student questions, I saw as I looked through the questions that were submitted, kind of some three major themes that arose. And so the first one is COVID, the second one is diversity inclusion, and the third one is sustainability. So I kind of grouped the questions by that, as those seem to be the topics right now that are really on students' hearts. So I thought we could kind of start in the sustainability category. So our first question is from our sustainability committee as well as our chief of staff, Shannon Kang. So just wondering, how do you see Purdue taking leaps towards mitigating our carbon footprint in response to the climate? And then what steps do you think Purdue can take to moving to more renewable energy sources as a university?
Well, of course, we've been very, very vigorous. I think many folks haven't noticed or we haven't maybe always touted what we have done, but there have been dramatic improvements on all these fronts. We have effected a 26% reduction out of our facilities in carbon over the last 5 years, even though the number of students grew 14% and the square footage grew 6%. So with more people and more, let's call them sources, we are emitting a whole lot less carbon. I have to tell you, and I was very surprised, for a place as high tech and as active on issues of environment and sustainability, as we now say, as Purdue is, my goodness, we were way behind. The example I'll give you is I was very startled to find out we were not metering electric usage by a building or by department. What did that mean? No one was being measured. So no one paid much attention to how much they were using. They were just getting a charge that was spread across the whole university. As soon as we started doing that, and people saw it on their own budgets, they became a whole lot more careful about how much energy they were using. The biggest single step we took, of course, was our transition almost entirely. We still have backup, but from coal to natural gas. You probably know the United States has led the world in the reduction of carbon. Why? Because of natural gas, the growth of natural gas through fracking and the substitution for coal. So whereas China and India and other places are still adding to the world's carbon burden at a very high rate, US has been reducing theirs, and that's the reason. And we had a small part in that when we made that investment and we made that transition. So we'll keep doing that. We have, in April of last year, I'd asked for a strategy to move us ahead in the future. And we have a 5-year plan that calls for a 50% reduction in CO2. And I think we can probably achieve that. Let me leave you with a suggestion that is not something PSG can solve or address this year or next year, but maybe as you all become leaders in other contexts, you can. When I asked myself, what could Purdue really do to vault forward in this area? Here's my blue sky answer. We could have a nuclear power, one of the new modular nuclear power plants at Purdue, let's say 8 or 10 years from now, and go to zero carbon and completely replace the energy generation we have today, which does emit CO2. There are some great advances occurring. Purdue's own department is a part of this. If we start making smarter decisions societally about the regulation of these advancing technologies, we could replace a lot of carbon emitting, in fact, the biggest carbon emitting sources we have with zero carbon, totally safe, small scale nuclear facility. So if you want to get there in one big leap, and I think that was your question, there's one idea for doing it, but it will take some leadership. It reaches, well beyond Purdue and into decisions we ought to make as a society.
Okay, thank you. Kind of moving on to our next topic with diversity and inclusion and accessibility. We have a question from Senator Stowe from the College of Science. How is Purdue considering students with physical disabilities in the conversation about making Purdue a walking campus and kind of moving some of the inner parking lots out to the edges of campus?
Very consistent with things we've been doing and I hope to do more of. You've certainly seen us trying to gather together. First of all, we have encouraged in a variety of ways with very substantial results. This was a big part of the so-called Purdue Moves we started a few years ago to encourage more students to live on campus and make that easier, more affordable, and so forth. Now, we did that for multiple reasons. Accessibility was one. Academic performance was another. We knew that students who lived on campus tended to do a little better academically for reasons that make common sense. And so that will continue to be our policy. We've done and we'll keep looking for ways to make things even more accessible. You saw the closure of 3rd Street this previous year, which is the next step toward making a more walkable campus. We've expanded biking, of course. It's a slightly different answer to a slightly different question, I know, but my goal is, I've always said to people who are not from here that what I think Purdue does so well, better than, as far as I can tell, most peers, is have all the advantages of scale, but still have a livable, make possible study and life at a human scale for our students. And a lot goes into that. The plethora of clubs and organizations and things we support, but certainly this goal of having a more as compact and walkable, bikeable, accessible a campus as we can. And that's what our master plan looks at. If you've studied that, you'll see that we are trying to do that. Let me mention one other thing. When I talked about these student-facing activities or services we provide, bursar, registrar, all these things. Right now, a lot of those are in the middle of campus, and they don't need to be. They should be, along with the parking that may support them, on the periphery. And it probably won't be popular, but we'll be saying to the faculty and staff, that's where we're headed. Along with that, and this links to the last 2 questions, my view is that there should be a whole lot less need for parking at Purdue because there should be a whole lot less vehicular traffic. We should be doing more things remotely, not everything, but many of the administrative and other services that we provide can be done, as I hope I illustrated, as well or better remotely, certainly after hours. And one consequence of that would be, and it has been certainly for the last year, 41% of our parking space has been empty for the last year. And that's a good thing. Less cars moving around is less pollution and less CO2. And I see a future in which that is more and more the case. And you can help us, as I said, by figure out the best ways to do that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think many of the centers have been excited to see kind of some of the changes in the corridors of campus, but I think I will express from our centers that there is a concern just wanting to make sure that students like with physical disabilities still have access to get to the spaces they need within campus. So I wanted to share that as well, as that's something that has been on the students' minds. And then also moving forward to our next question kind of in this topic from President Gilmore. What is the first thing that you'd like to see implemented or accomplished from the current equity task force?
Well, the task force has the right targets in the center of its bullseye. So they have identified, and I agree completely, recruitment of undergraduate students, and we're talking about Black students now. They were very candid. You know, our population of Latino students has been growing very fast, and in the other aspects, as the task force has reported, of diversity, we're doing well. Where we need to do better specifically is with Black students, and so recruitment of undergraduates and graduate students, recruitment of faculty, and then the success of all those people, if we can find additional ways to make that more certain. So that's what the task force has designated as the top priorities. I agree with them completely. We'll be hiring people, for instance, to go specifically to targeted high schools where we believe we might be able to recruit more Black or African-American students than we have. And we want to take very direct action to do that. Our own high schools, I hope you're all well aware that we've started 3 of them with this way before this task force, with this goal very much in mind. We were going to grow those, and I hope add to their number if we can, to take direct action. That's the most direct thing we can do to build a pipeline of more students. This spring, I've been looking forward to it for 4 years now. This is the first graduating class from our first high school. And we have worked and worked and worked, not only to help those students, 115 in that graduating class, help them be ready for a college like Purdue, but then to persuade them that Purdue's the place. If they're going to college, Purdue's the place for them to go. So we're working literally individually with each of those young people. Some of you have helped with this, by the way. Thank you very much. One of the things we've done is link them up with mentors who are at Purdue now, and in hopes of improving the chances that they do decide to go to college and do decide to come to West Lafayette.
Thank you. I think shifting into our last topic, which is COVID, our next question is from Senator Bonnet. So how has COVID changed your perspectives on mental health on campus for both students and professors and staff here?
I wouldn't say it's changed it much. I've had a long history with regard to mental health, dating back to my years in business. I was part of the company that brought fluoxetine. You may remember this as the drug Prozac to the marketplace. It was the first drug that made it possible, not just for psychiatrists, but for all doctors to treat mental illness, depression in that case, and later other drugs, that psychotropic drugs that we debuted. And we spent a lot of time and literally tens of millions of dollars destigmatizing mental illness, trying to help people understand it wasn't a deficiency in someone's soul. It was, in most cases, a chemical imbalance that could be addressed medically. So I've had a lot of experience with advocates for mental illness patients and with those who treat them. And I have deep empathy for people who have struggled with these kind of problems. Now, that said, I didn't think it took a clairvoyant. I didn't think it took a medical professional to look at what was being done in the lockdown policies of a year ago to say this is going to hurt in many ways, and one of them is it's going to accent mental illness, and it did. We do know that mental and emotional problems have risen dramatically, and I think in too many cases because of policies and restrictions that were not scientifically justified. Now, I'm not saying we got it exactly right at Purdue. Of course we didn't, but in every respect, but I am convinced that by reopening campus and having at least a modicum of normal activity, we reduced what is clearly elsewhere. Go look at the um, escalation in treatment problems and in suicide, even suicide. And you can see that these things have to be taken into account. And for people who took what I believe was not a scientifically justified approach, what in many cases was the easy approach that got cheap applause in the short term by just locking everything down and ignoring the damage to young children who have lost a year of education in many cases, damage, yes, to the emotional health of people who were confined, as we all had to one extent or another be, who ignored the very obvious risks of those things. I think that was unfortunate. I do believe history will judge many of the decisions that were made across the country, the world, this last year severely for that, and the exacerbation of the very real problems of those who are challenged by mental and emotional problems will be one of the big examples of that.
Okay, I'm going to combine our last two questions from Senator Wyrick and Senator Ferguson to kind of wrap us out. So what characteristics do you think Purdue students need to possess to successfully transition into our post-COVID world, kind of starting next semester? And then what are your goals for next academic year?
I really like this question. So thanks to those, and I guess it was more than one person who asked it in one form or another. Yeah, I don't want to take a unnaturally optimistic view of this last year. We all wish it had not happened. But I think usually a good idea to look for the upside, even in unfortunate circumstances. I believe, and I talked about it at the beginning, that overwhelmingly the students of Purdue showed a maturity, an acceptance that life sends us trouble from time to time. This is not the last time you're going to face very, very serious, even in some cases, physically threatening challenges. And as grim as it was, and as unwelcome as it was, trust here someone who has spent a little more time on the planet than you have, that before you know it, it will sort of be a faded memory, but you may find that you lived through something and surmounted something through your contributions to keeping Purdue going, to keeping your own academic trajectories going when millions of your counterparts were just given up a year or part of a year, that you learned something and you did something significant. And so we talk about grit at Purdue. People talk about it everywhere. I think we live it a little better than some other places. This was a year when the young people and you and your colleagues had a chance to show it. I don't want to be, I'm not for a moment dismissive of what we've been through, but you're students of history. And those of us who are lucky enough to live in this century live in the safest and wealthiest and provably happiest circumstances that humankind ever has. And so I hope that you will take from this, first of all, some pride and satisfaction at your role in helping others, and by the way, this institution, persevere. And I hope you'll also take with you a little memory so that years from now, when something else goes wrong, either societally or in your life individually, you say, I can handle this. I proved it once. And so I guess I'll finish, Hannah, where I started. Um, I have always been proud now for many years to be associated with this university, especially with its students, but never like the last year. And while that's true generally, I want to pay special tribute to PSG. You each give up some of your time to look after your fellow students and try to advance their interests. And you have done a great job of that. And I just want to make sure you understand that it was noticed and appreciated.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. We're here in Findler, but we'll give you a round of applause. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear us, but thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule today to join us.
Well, I'm of course, I can hear you, but I'm clapping for you, and thank you very much. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
President Daniels, bye-bye.
Hi, Sada.
Oh, hey, sorry. I forgot everyone could hear me. My bad.
Okay, I think before we do the call to order, I would like Andy Kim, sorry to put you on the spot, but we're gonna swear you in down here. We haven't got to do this in front of everyone for a while. I'll give you never mind, I'm not gonna make you do the mic. So if you'll this is Elise, she's our Chief Justice, so she's gonna have you do all the things you need to do.
Am I good here?
Yeah.
I don't know if we're doing them at the same time.
Oh, Elise, come down. Anybody else want to join? All right.
I, Andy Kim, on this 24th day of March 2021, swear to abide by and uphold the bylaws and the Constitution of the Purdue Student Government. I swear to conduct all legislative business with complete honesty and with the best interest of Purdue University as my main objective. Congrats. I, Eli Lashib, on this 24th day of March 2021, swear to abide by and uphold the bylaws and the Constitution of the Purdue Student Government. I swear to conduct all legislative business with complete honesty and with the best interest of Purdue University as my main objective. Congratulations.
All right, awesome. I'm just pulling up the PowerPoint here, and then we can go ahead and get started. Okay, we can go ahead and get started first with our proxy reports. So if you're a proxy, if you could please just say your name and the senator who you are proxying for. Yes.
Hey, my name's Maya Claire and I'm proxying for Emily Coffin.
Thank you. Any other proxies? Okay, as a reminder, proxies do have the full voting rights and also debate rights as when they are here in Senate. We'll now move into roll call.
Senator Wyrick,
Here.
Senator Ferguson,
Here.
Senator Hopfer,
Here.
Senator Bonnet,
Here.
Senator Hockenberry,
Here.
oh my goodness. Sorry guys, my computer is dead and so my iPad's a mess. Do you have your roll call up?
I will pull it up right here.
Okay, I'm so sorry guys.
No, you're good.
I can't. Okay, wait, I got it back. Sorry. Senator Lycan?
Here.
Sa-
Lachine.
Lachine? Okay, that's cool. Okay, no, I might need yours back up. Sorry.
Put it up to you, Hannah.
Senator Eingar?
Here.
Senator Dodonna?
Here.
Okay, thank you. Senator Chris?
Here.
Senator Beatty?
Here.
Senator Boftas?
Here. Booftus.
Booftis. Okay, thank you. Senator Piera? Pieri?
It's Pereira,
Okay.
but I'm here.
Senator Jha?
Here.
Senator Griffin Little?
Here.
Senator Davis?
Here.
Senator Reed?
Here.
Senator Kim? Oops. Senator Cabrera?
Here.
Senator Grishin?
Here.
Senator Light?
Here.
Senator McDaniel?
Here.
Senator Stowe?
Present.
Senator de Guzman?
Here.
Senator Reynolds?
Here.
Senator Lennon?
Here.
Senator Natur?
Here.
Is that right? Senator Kopp?
Here.
Senator Chavon?
Here. It's Chavon.
Chavon? Chavon. Okay. Senator Shai?
Here.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move into the introduction of visitors. So if you're a visitor, either in person or online, if you could please just state your name and reason for being here. Mason, would you like to start?
My name is Mason Merkel. I am here to present a bill, so get excited.
I'm Emily, and we're here with the exponent.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have any other visitors online?
Yeah, my name is Kastub. I'm the IFC president. I'm here to sponsor the bill with Mason.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Eliza. I'm a junior in organizational leadership, and I'm here observing for the medical amnesty policy revision because I'm very interested in it.
Okay, thank you to all of our visitors who are joining us tonight. We'll now move into the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the Pledge of Purpose. I pledge allegiance to our purpose and above all. Awesome. We'll now move into the approval of minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, the minutes are approved as distributed. We'll now move into executive reports. President Gilmore?
Hi, everyone. This is so weird to be joining you from a virtual setting. I apologize that I'm not in person, but I will be interacting in the chat. Not that anyone can see me, but I'm rooting you all on from afar. I do have quite a few announcements, reports. The homelessness and hunger bill from Representative Harris, I believe, when Susan Brock Williams and others from the State House were here, they talked about this bill. Hannah and I, as well as our executive director of GR, Matthew Binding. We were able to meet with him, along with the other student governments from our satellite campuses. And so we're working together on this letter writing campaign. We're meeting on Friday to finalize. GR created a beautiful template, and then we'll distribute it to all the schools in Indiana. So we're even working not only our satellite campuses, but also Ball State with the student government at IU, because this is a bill that will affect a lot of people, specifically within college or university level. So really excited about that. Last night, the LGBTQ Center hosted a conversation with Niall DeMarco and Kayla Mann. It might be Chella, but I'm going to go with Kayla. But they had a conversation, intersectional discussion about accessibility. Was able to meet with Lowell today to hear more about it. And the key takeaway from that, I guess, was profound comment was that if I have to ask for it, it's not equity. So talking about accessibility, if I have to ask for someone who signs, if I have to ask for subtitles, that's not equity. And they're getting a lot of feedback from this comment. Basically, they would like to bring together University Senate, Purdue Student Government, and Purdue Graduate Student Government to come together to do something about accessibility. I got to brag on Kaylee Stowe and her ad hoc committee and say, hey, we're 10 steps ahead of you, this action plan. So long story short, we'll probably be reaching out to you, Kaylee. But this is something that's important for everyone on campus. And so if you can get involved, if you have been wanting to join that ad hoc committee for a long time but hadn't, here's your push, because they're going to be called on to do some phenomenal things for the university. But was really excited to be able to talk about you and the work that your committee is doing. University Senate was on Monday, and quite a lot happened. They did a first reading of the expansion of accessibility for menstruation products. This was legislation brought forward again by Purdue Graduate Student Government to get tampon dispensers in all restrooms. So they're in the women's restrooms, they're not in the men's restrooms, and so that's what we're working on. And please keep in mind, none of these things were voted on. They were simply brought to the floor for discussion and will be voted on in April. Legislation in regards to the School of Interdisciplinary Studies, and so this would be to revert whatever changes happened in the summer on a more permanent basis, and also making sure to include the faculty and staff from that department in further and future discussions. There was the text flexible approach, a piece of legislation. And mind you, I'm just giving you an overview right now. I will put the newsletter document that they put together into the drive per usual. There's a folder, it's called the University Senate. If you want to hear more about a specific piece of legislation, please reach out or go to the folder. J-term legislation was put up. The data that we've collected is accessible to you all. It's in the drive as well. That vote will be pretty interesting. And then finally, we put forward Grace Brooks, who is not here today, but did some incredible work on a piece of legislation that would mandate QPR training for all student-facing faculty, as well as teaching assistants and umbuds. New vocab word for you, umbud. But it did not make it to the floor. It was tabled because they feel as though the appropriate parties weren't reached, which is something that we respect, and we are going through the process again. But long story short, if you want to get involved, we know what departments are specifically have an issue with the legislation, and so might be calling on you and some of your individual colleges to help us do some reach out there. I promise you I'm almost done. I feel like I haven't seen you guys in forever. I just have so much to talk about. Bold Brunch. We're so excited about this. And Hannah, please feel free to mention anything I don't remember. But this event, we thought we'd have maybe 100, 150 people sign up. We have 350 going on 400. Representation from all aspects of campus. We're so excited. And the Bold Awards, which I hope all of you have applied for, we have over 150 applications. So long story short, really big event. We're very excited. We've confirmed with Dr. Roxanne Gay, who's being paid for by the Brock Wilson Center for Women, have a lot of sponsors, Purdue Women's Network, which is the alumni network. So we're really excited. If you haven't registered, do so, because everything closes on Friday and we're already well over capacity. So just hope you can all get involved. And then finally, some great news in regards to our mental health awareness Action Week initiatives. Mason, I'm very glad that you're here because you emailed me and I can just tell you right now. with the QPR Wellness Ambassador Program. We had 95 students apply, and we only have 10 to 15 spots, right? So we are very, very happy about the interest. And so now we're just trying to figure out how do we pick those people, and then how can we continue this to make sure that those that want to get involved can keep getting involved. And we finally got approval for the support network. So bringing a student support system to Purdue to supplement and act as another additional resource for students here on campus. We're in the process of doing that. If you want to have a leadership role, and so I'm talking about like director, executive director positions in this new sort of student organization, please reach out. I'll put the flyer on Slack, but we do need 5 key players in order to move forward. We are working with 3 right now. And so just a great opportunity to get involved very specifically in the world of mental health. Now that I've told you my whole life story, I am done. Thank you, Vice President Dar.
Thank you, President Gilmore. Okay, from my end, our grade updates legislation, some people had some difficulties with the sentence that said that professors had to respond to emails if students emailed them about wanting to meet about their grades. So because of that, it is back to committee and will be voted on in April, along with the Dead Week, Reading Week policy revisions. Something new, if you haven't heard, next Wednesday, so a week from today, Indiana will be opening up vaccines to those 16 and older. So I expect more information will come from Purdue about that in the next coming weeks. Also, Asada and I learned in our Protect Purdue meeting yesterday that Purdue will be relaxing the visitor policy for senior week to allow some of kind of the more important ceremonies on campus, like pinning for nursing, some commissioning ceremonies for ROTC, etc., to occur. So hopefully some of those events can happen for seniors on campus. And then also the Purdue Village project, Senator Shai, Chief of Staff King, myself, President Gilmore, along with graduate student government representatives and also some residents living in Purdue Village, are currently working on a project to support affordable housing for graduate students and students with families on campus. So a petition has been started, as well as a survey of the students who live in the spaces now about their housing needs, the concerns that they have. And so we launched that survey this morning, and we already have almost a 40% response rate. So that's going really well, and hoping that a piece of legislation can come to the floor next semester. So if you're not familiar, Purdue Village is out by the airport. It's very affordable. I live there. Housing spaces for students, and half of them are being decommissioned this summer, and then the other half the following summer. And so this came as a surprise to some of the students because they just found out that their buildings are being torn down like a couple weeks ago. And so we're just working to see what systems we can put in place to have students involved in the process for the new apartments that are going to be built, as well as possibly helping to delay the segment of apartments from being torn down that will remain until the new option is fully available to students. So if you'd like to help with that, please let me know or Senator Shai know. We can add you to the group me. And I think that's I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think that's it for me. Chief of Staff King.
Yeah, I just have 2 things. One is programming is hosting another game night for us. I believe it's actually going to be in person. It looks like they've submitted an APF and reserved a room. So just so that we have more engagement within PSG, please attend, and it'll be a fun event, and just step away for a moment from your schoolwork and just de-stress with us. And the second thing, I thought I already mentioned it, but with GR, they are doing a letter writing campaign, which is really exciting. I'm glad that went through. And also, they have been posting, there's been a graphic on the Boiler update about GR and just information about how to get more involved in terms of civic engagement and whatnot. And so if you just want to read through that, I think it'd be really great to support the GR committee and be on the lookout for all of the other committees' events. They are going above and beyond in terms of planning and coming up with ideas. So it's really neat. I think it's very different from first semester. I think at first we didn't really know how to handle this pandemic and what sort of activities we were going to plan, but we're getting really creative. So please make sure and support them. It'll be really interesting to see how it all plays out. Thank you. That's it from me.
Yeah, thank you. Any other executive reports?
I have Greg's update. He had to work today. But he wanted you all to know that the SFAB groups have been notified about their funding decision after our legislation was passed last week. Also, if anyone's planning to spend a significant amount of money, meaning 500 or above, please let Greg, myself, or Vice President Dar know, because we're putting forth our final proposal for additional funding through the year. And so I know that at board of directors side, we have a bigger event coming up with a speaker, potentially, or an award for a technology showcase or something like that. Sorry, Shannon, I'm definitely misquoting, but you do have to let us know because we're towards the end of the year and our budget is getting a little bit smaller.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into.
So sorry.
JT, go ahead.
All right. Well, hi everyone. Sorry, I'm stuck at home again. I know y'all miss me so darn much, but I miss you too. So I hope that's a silver lining there. But I have something I'm cautiously optimistic about. The details are going to be finalized tomorrow in the meeting between our elections director, Daniel Painter, and Jamie Cox, the SAO specialist we've been working on to put the election together, or like the election process together. But it seems like we are inching towards having ranked choice voting be implemented for this voting cycle. So the senator races, the presidential races, likely will be using that that process to operate the entire election system. So if that works out, that'll be really cool. Obviously, ranked choice voting is very beneficial for any sort of voting system. But I will keep y'all updated based on like how the meeting goes tomorrow. Yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move into committee reports, internal affairs.
So yeah, internal affairs has been busy on some of the ad hoc stuff we'll see tonight, as well as we've started the foundation of starting the conversation about how to address underrepresentation in Senate. That was brought up with the student athlete Senate seat bill. We would love feedback from all of you. I think there are some plans to send out some internal surveys and all that kind of fun stuff. As it is late in the year, at this point, we're just kind of, we're trying to get a good recommendation for next year. But yeah, if you have any input, we would absolutely love to hear it.
Also to put on your radar, we're gonna have to get the finalized constitution with all the revisions submitted here probably in the next couple of weeks so we can get that process through SAO so everything can be implemented next semester. Let's see, who's up next? Financial affairs.
Yeah, so financial affairs has been moving full ahead with the PSG small grant guidelines over the last couple times we've met. We've approved some, been working on clarifying that process and figuring out exactly how to implement those guidelines that we've worked on. But yeah, that's super exciting.
Great. CSRA.
CSRA has nothing new to report at this time.
And UAA.
Hi everyone, so UAA does not have anything new to report because we didn't had a day off on the reading day when we were supposed to meet. But if anyone in my committee cannot come tomorrow, please try to let me know tonight because we're going to have 2 guests from SAC come so we can, just like IA, get some input about the student athletes because obviously there's some issues that need to be addressed there.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move into informal discussion. Is there any, yes, Senator Reed.
Yeah, so I just had a question. As it was revealed yesterday that any adults over 16 can be vaccinated after March 31st. I know that there's currently a vaccination site on Purdue's campus somewhere, but they just haven't had the doses. Have we gotten any information as far as will there be a large student vaccine rollout soon? Because I know, I believe someone mentioned that we'd get more details in a few weeks, but a lot can change in a few weeks, and I think it's really important that we get as many vaccines as soon as possible. So yeah, any information would be lovely.
The answer is yes. And so I think the meeting for that is happening tomorrow. And so hopefully very soon, but obviously it's going to be available like the flu shot clinic on campus, but also just like that anyone is welcome to schedule an appointment off campus to get the vaccine if they would like. But yes, the plan is very, very shortly to open it up, and I'm sure very soon we'll hear. I know that they're meeting tomorrow. Any other informal discussion? Oh, President Gilmore, do you have something to add about that?
No, I need Provost Ackridge tomorrow at 3:30. So ideally, Alex, will have more information to you all shortly thereafter.
I also did hear this afternoon as well that they're looking into like the possibilities for summer and fall study abroads. And so right now they're thinking that students will have to be like vaccinated or have an approved waiver of why they're not getting the vaccination to participate in those, if they can happen. Anybody else? Usually informal discussion is very lively.
I know, I miss it. I did just want to say, again, I forgot executive reports. Know Your Rights Week, and this is Elisa's news, but it's April 5th through the 9th, so please put that on your calendar. Also, the end of year banquet is going to be April 23rd, I believe, but our RSVP is coming out tomorrow. So if you don't RSVP, you cannot come. So please fill it out per the deadline that's in the email.
And it's going to be awesome, so you're definitely going to want to be there. There's going to be food. It might be at Ross Aid. There's going to be swag. So, okay. Anybody else? Yes, Senator Wyrick.
I just have kind of a general question, if anybody can answer this. In terms of the vaccine rollout that'll be coming later for 16 plus, does anybody know, can people preemptively sign up for that? Anybody have any knowledge about that?
Go ahead. Press Secretary Johnson.
You have to like provide a reason. Like as of right now, like I know that they just allowed people who are considered to be teachers. Like that was the like the group before the people 16 and above, and you had to show proof that you like a school ID or something. So I think that right now, as long as you like have a driver's license that shows your age or above, once the date starts, like you should be able to register. But I think that I'm trying to think, one of the vaccines I know like expires, and so even some of the surrounding clinics, if they notice that the vaccines aren't being used, you can call and schedule an appointment right now. That's what my roommate did, so that's what I would suggest if you want to get vaccinated.
Yeah, I don't know if you can register now or if you have to wait until the March 31st date, but I would recommend getting on the Indiana State Department of Health website. They have like all the information in the sites that you can go. Yes.
So, so currently, like all vaccinations going on in Indiana are only allowed for Indiana residents, and as an out-of-state student, like I would not qualify for that. So, would vaccines be opened up to non-state residents or even like international students if there's like a student-wide like vaccination rollout?
Yeah, maybe Sada, if you could ask Provost Ackridge about that. I do have a few friends who are out of state who like qualified for other reasons, and like they were able to show their Purdue address as an Indiana address. But I think that's a really good point that we can maybe get some clarification on.
It's on the list. Thank you, Senator Claire.
Kind of going off of that, like if you're looking to get vaccinated locally, like not on Purdue's campus, if you can show a utility bill if you're out of state. That worked for somebody that I knew, that they were from the California area, but you had to show that you were living around here. So
anybody else? Okay, we will move into old business. Is there any old business at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into new business. Do I hear any new business? Senator Reed.
I'd like to make a motion to bring up Resolution 2067.
It's been properly motioned and seconded to bring up Resolution 2067, Medical Amnesty Policy Revision. This time we'll start with the authors, Mason Merkel, Molly Beatty, and Kaylee Stowe, and then open it up to the floor. Senator Beatty.
Hi, everybody. Okay, first of all, I would like to propose an official amendment for a lot of edits. This went in and then we edited it like crazy. So bear with me. I'm going to try to run you guys through it.
Can you also share it so people can follow along?
Oh, you want me to share it right now?
Yes.
You may send it to you?
Can you just send it in the
We'll
Slack?
do the best.
Or in the drive? Yeah, I just think it might be
in the
easier so
drive.
people can follow along.
Okay. Let's see. I'll just send you the link.
Okay. Or Molly, I can also just pull it up on here.
How about I send it to you?
Okay, are you emailing this to me?
Okay, I think it hopefully should go through.
This is not me. Okay, you can go ahead and start talking, Molly. I will pull it up.
Okay, so the first amendment is to the first whereas clause. Policy, which is housed under the office of the Dean of Students, in place of just the previous policy. Let's see. And then the current, for the second whereas clause, we replaced previous with current, and also added after crime, so non-medically emergent crime, we added parentheses, like certain cases of hazing, serious interpersonal dispute, sexual assault, and others where assistance is needed for a dangerous situation, but sometimes not necessarily a 911 call or hospital visit made by the survivor or witness. And then it goes on during or after. The next one is in the fourth whereas clause. We replaced previous with current again for policy. And then we added are not events that involve student gathering. The fifth whereas clause, we added outlines after guide. So policy guide outlines several important elements included in the medical amnesty policies of many other college universities which are absent from Purdue's medical amnesty policy. It goes on to say, it states that any, semicolon then. And then the sixth, we added another sentence after University of Michigan have created medical amnesty policies that provide student coverage for certain controlled substances while at the same time duly serve as a means to protect the survivor from university disciplinary action in cases of assistance for medically and non-medically emergent reporting where the student is illegally impaired. And then the seventh whereas clause, we kind of edited the clause or the part of the sentence to say at 2.5 million in numbers and 557,000, 100,000 in numbers again, cases of use respectively reported in a single month. And then we added down at the 10th, or we put a whereas clause between 9 and 11. You guys, do I need to state that? Significant stakeholder in providing a safe policy for Boilermakers. President of Purdue's Interfraternity Council, Castabre, states, allowing medical amnesty for all kinds of crisis situations is vital for the health of our campus. In the past year, Greek communities have seen an increase in binge drinking / drug abuse rates nationally. Now more than ever, it's important to keep Boilermakers safe on and off campus. On behalf of the entire Interfraternity Council, I support this resolution. And then in whereas clause 11, we added medical emergencies and registered events. And then it goes on, is a disservice. And then that's it for the amendments, I believe.
Okay, so are these being proposed as amicable amendments?
If that's possible.
Yes, okay. Do all the authors accept?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I'm sending this out right now to the Senate list so that everyone can see it. Would any of the other authors like to speak?
I can introduce it real quick, if you want. So basically, a Greek life student last year came to me and Mason and was like, hey, our medical amnesty policy at Purdue really needs some updating. we feel as if it is not covering all of our needs. And coming from a fraternity participant, that was like something that we wanted to pay attention to. So we kind of looked at the policy, and you can see in the therefore clause, the first one, we rewrote it, or we copy and pasted it. You can read it, and right there it really only highlights that students at Purdue get amnesty for cases that involve alcohol consumption. And you can see that it's pretty bare, just the whole clause. So we kind of went through and revised it. Some things we added like 4 main things. We added coverage for controlled substances, so such as marijuana and prescription drug or non-medical prescription drugs. Those we will try to take up with faculty. I know that they're not really loving the idea of like other kinds of substances, but we think we have a shot with those too. The second thing is we would be adding coverage for cases dealing with sexual assault or some other non-medical cases, just that you don't like have to be confined to calling 911 to get medical or to get amnesty. And then the third is non-registered events such as student gathering on Purdue's campus, on West Lafayette's campus. And then fourth, just overall increased awareness, because we think this is really important policy even for the university for student safety, and not a lot of people know that it exists even. So we would just love to increase awareness as well. So if Mason, if you want to add anything, go for it.
So, as Molly stated, we made this bill after somebody who has, seen the effects that something like this could have firsthand. We made this bill because we need to do our part in ensuring that every new student who comes here in the Boilermaker community can be guaranteed a safe environment. We all know someone who maybe uses substances that aren't just alcohol or just within the box of a registered event by an official student organization, or they don't even know that this policy exists. I didn't know this policy existed before we got asked to change it. So after doing research, we decided that we needed those things in place to make this policy useful, because we all hear the stories online. I've met people who have shared their stories of times where their child or their friend came to college bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to have a fun experience, and then maybe one thing led to another, and because there were bystanders in the situation, were hesitant to report or get help, it was just too late for the student. And so we don't want that in the Boilermaker community. And it's something we need to revise in the current policy, which is a step in the right direction, but it's years old. And it needs to be updated, as we see during COVID, drug rates skyrocketing, and the 2 most common ones being marijuana, prescription drugs. And those drugs on themselves can cause accidents, but when mixed with other ones even, on accident, they can cause situations which we need to have a safety net for students. The one maybe deterrent to a lot of people supporting this. The one thing we could think of is maybe, by enacting this medical amnesty, it's just going to encourage a bunch of people to bring a bunch of prescription drugs on campus and just take a bunch of them. But there's a statistic in the policy which sort of deals with that concern. And from common sense, we all know. I mean, I personally wouldn't down a bottle of prescription drugs and chase it, thinking, oh, well, in case someone happens to see me lying on the floor overdosed, they'll call 911 and maybe have a shot at saving my life. That's not going to make me bring drugs to campus. So this policy really just aims to protect the Boilermaker community and discourage bystanding so that students have a safe environment.
We'll now open it up to discussion from the floor. Senator Wyrick.
I would just like to start with, to the authors of this bill, as a member of the Greek community, I can't thank you enough. I know so many people who've depended on the existing medical amnesty policy to stay alive. And the fact that this is being brought up again and recognized, and attention is being brought to it, I can't thank you enough. And our community is very, very grateful for that. I just have two clarification questions. One is for Gastub. So this might have been answered when you were kind of explaining the policy, but this would only apply to registered organizational events, correct? Not, for example, unregistered functions?
To my knowledge, I think this applies to any kind of issue. Obviously, unregistered functions are something that we deal with. Just because they would use the medical amnesty bill doesn't it doesn't give them amnesty for having an unregistered function. We would still deal with that on our own. This is more for an individual basis from what I'm understood.
So right now we're talking in terms of the university. Our goal is to, I'm meeting with a faculty member tomorrow, but in here it states even we've included non-events, so that involves student gathering, because we didn't know exactly what events to put in there. So we've put that involves student gathering as the category. But that's something we hope to discuss, and we'll see where the conversations lead. But we don't think we don't think we should confine ourselves to a registered event.
Senator Wyrick.
Yeah, I just had a follow-up question with that, also kind of directed at Gastub. So in my experience in Greek life, when people are making the decision to call or not, whether it is with marijuana, prescription drugs, or alcohol, it's most of the time it's not with the police, it's with the FSCL institutions at play, and kind of sometimes blindly and incorrectly, people are more concerned about the sanctions that they can get if they make the call and somebody gets in trouble and they find out. So what kind of mitigation techniques is FSCL wide, taking to encourage people, yeah, your house could get in trouble, but you still need to make the call. So what kind of programming efforts, what kind of encouragement is there to make sure that still happens?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the main things that we do during our training and informing of the medical amnesty policy bill is that they have to do it when they find out about the situation. Medical amnesty is only applicable when it's done in the moment, and there's no waiting. I think in a lot of situations where it's not been applicable, it's because whether it be a fraternity member or a sorority member, they wait for a certain amount of time because they're scared of those sanctionings. But our promise is after the investigation is kind of rolled out, if we know that there was no portion where there was kind of a wait for that medical amnesty bill, we're very aware of that. And we kind of apply that to save them from kind of any sanctioning or later on issues that they might run into.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Senator Reed.
I just have a quick question. So looking at the old the current policy and then kind of the new policy, I can't help but notice that you guys kind of took out on the premises of a recognized student organization or at a function sponsored by a recognized student organization. And I was just curious if that was done for any particular reason or if that language was included somewhere else that I missed. Just any context to that decision.
Senator Beatty.
So I think that this is kind of relates back to what Senator Wyrick was saying. We kind of took it out because we didn't want to limit to student organizations, because in a lot of times the Lifeline law that Indiana has is not doesn't relate to an organization. So if we can get to this to where it just is a student, so that's why we put the involved student, because that's how a lot of Big Ten universities actually even write their policies now. We didn't want to just say oh, you have to be a member of an organization to be able to get amnesty. So we just kind of took it out in general. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I guess I'm kind of looking at it the other way, where for me, when I read this, at least in my unprofessional view, it seems like this is only the only cases that apply are ones that occur on the West Lafayette campus. It doesn't mention anything specific about a Purdue student being involved or in the West Lafayette community. The only language really saying that is the West Lafayette campus.
Yeah, I think we worded it like we intended it to word it that way because, again, we think that it should apply to any student in general. So that's what we did. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, if I can just ask one quick follow-up. Has someone more professional than me looked at this and said that like it does cover those students, just because I worry the current language isn't explicit enough?
So we've sent it out to a few faculty members. We just want to get the backing of Purdue student government first so that we have like, I mean, I've talked to a lot of faculty about it and I don't know if they've seen the exact wording, but that's something we want to pass. And then, I mean, there's always going to be changes to it. So it's not going to be word for word, but as of now, that's what me and Mason wanted to propose. So.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. It looks great.
Thanks. Thank you. Senator Bonnet?
First, I'll yield 2 minutes to you if you have something you want to say.
Yes, I have 2 points of clarification for the authors. So stating that it's on the West Lafayette campus, the first one is, since it's on campus, that technically not apply to events that would happen in sorority and fraternity houses. And the second one is just, for everyone, if you could clarify the difference between a policy like this and the Indiana Lifeline Law. For any of the authors.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, the first one is the designation on the West Lafayette campus would then not technically not apply to fraternity and sorority houses as they're considered like off campus. And then the second point is if you could clarify the difference between like medical amnesty and Indiana Lifeline Law. And either of you can go.
So we didn't change any wording about the on the West Lafayette campus part of the policy. That has remained true, and the previous policy or current policy covers those events in fraternity houses and whatnot. As to the second point about the Indiana Lifeline Law, the Indiana Lifeline Law would pertain to legal action that would incur from the intoxication or possession of the various substances. This policy has to do with university sanctions, so expulsion, probation, suspension, whatnot. Did I sort of focus on that, the correct aspect?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think that helps clarify how the policies work together. Senator Bonnet.
I guess the only note I have that kind of goes along with Hannah is that in the original one, it says on the premises of a recognized student organization as well. So I think that's the point we're trying to make, is that when you take that out, then maybe it takes out sororities and fraternities. The other note I have is in the 10th whereas clause, you guys have a basically like an endorsement from IFC, which I think is great, but I think you need to take the last sentence out for it to be a true whereas clause and for it to actually like be a whereas that's explaining why you get the bill. But that's just a thought.
Senator Bonnet, are you proposing an amicable amendment?
I am not. I'm leaving it up to them to decide if they want to do that.
Perfect. Senator Ferguson?
I'm also not proposing an amendment, but a way that you could get around the on-campus is you could add after on-campus or in the West Lafayette community.
Senator Beatty?
Yeah, I see what you guys are saying, and honestly, that like totally went past me when we were writing it. I didn't realize Greek life would not be considered West Lafayette campus, so I'm definitely open to making a change there. But as far as the other, what was the last sentence of the 10th?
Yeah, so the last
On behalf.
says, on behalf of the entire fraternity council, I support this resolution. That one doesn't really belong in a whereas clause to me. That's up to you.
If you're willing, Mason, are you willing to take that out?
Yeah, I'm willing to fix the wording there. But the reason why we put the quote in there is for any desk that this would land on, it would have the power to change the policy. Anyone who doesn't see the Senate meeting notes, so that they just know that a significant stakeholder for this sort of situation in Greek life supports something like this to protect their students. So as long as the integrity of that clause remains intact, I'm fine with fixing any kind of wording.
Yeah, I think there's room for them to go either as a sponsor of the bill or to even mention that part of the quote just at the end or something. But the rest of the quote should stay. I really like it, and I think it's really important. But I just think that the actual, like, we support this resolution is not necessarily part of your whereas clause.
Senator Beatty?
Yeah, that was a recent ad, so that didn't really get edited as well. But I agree, definitely. So I propose a friendly amendment. Is that how I do?
Mm-hmm.
To take out, on behalf of the entire interfraternity council, I support this resolution in the whereas clause. Take that out, and then as far as the our rewritten, edited version, I think I would also like to propose, if this is okay with Mason and Julie, a friendly amendment. So it would say, drug usage that occurs on West Lafayette wait, what did you say?
On the West Lafayette campus and in the West Lafayette community.
On the West Lafayette campus and West Lafayette community. The involved student as well as the student.
Do all the authors support that amendment?
Aye.
Okay. Molly, are any of the other authors, are you able to make that, like, edit now, or do I need to write all of that down?
I mean, I can do it. Did you get it, Secretary? Okay.
Any other discussion? Senator Stowe?
I'd just like to say a final word. I had an incredibly small part in authoring this bill, like literally it was like 8 words. But I just want to say how wholeheartedly I support it, especially through my role as an RA, because I've seen that, you know, alcohol, drugs, all this stuff, it's already on campus. These issues are already present. It's important that we protect our students, and we don't want this to be a deterrent between someone's death or their life. We want students to be able to reach out, and I think it's incredibly important that we have a policy like this.
Anyone else? Oh, go ahead, Senator. Wait, let me say it correctly. Lasheen.
Yeah, so again, thank you to the 3 authors for making this bill. I think it's a very necessary conversation to have. I feel like my current understanding of prescription drugs, it ranges from some more minor things that people would use to treat like ADHD and stuff like that to some very serious painkillers, benzophodrates, that sort of thing. I was wondering if you could be a little bit more specific on the extent to which this bill would cover students as far as some of those harder drugs that rival the non-prescription counterparts go.
Yeah, so our thought was to try to add coverage for as much controlled substance as we can, but we still don't know exactly what the faculty will give us. So I think that's going to be a conversation we're going to have in revision. They already want to add the cases of sexual abuse, and that already kind of happens. I've talked to some people in the departments, and they say they would be probably willing to add a clause about that. So that will be a discussion that we'll take up with them, and I don't know how the wording will go, but I don't know what they'll agree to. That's basically the end-all be-all with that. So we've just put non-medical prescription drugs for now. We can't really go out and list it, so that was kind of like a crossroads. We kind of had to just put it.
Senator Davis.
I yield a minute to you if you.
Okay, I just have one more point of consideration maybe to think about. Sorry, my mind is rolling about the West Lafayette campus thing as we're having this discussion. And so one of the big changes with Title IX last spring was the coverage that happened on like study abroad programs. So that would be like a Purdue sponsored event that would not occur in the West Lafayette campus or community, or like this kind of like the study away trip. So I don't know if that's something maybe to add to the conversation. Senator Beatty.
Yeah, we have not really considered that. I think right now we're just trying to get, like the little first steps going here. But that's definitely something in the future years that I can bring up. But I think right now that was our main focus is the West Lafayette campus because we didn't want to spread out ourselves too thin, but definitely a great idea.
Any other debate or discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into a vote on Resolution 2067, Medical Amnesty Policy Revision. If all of those in person in favor could please raise their name placards, and online, if you could raise your hand in the chat. All those opposed, same sign. Same thing online. If you're online, if you're opposed, you might have to unmute and let us know. Okay, any abstentions? Seeing none, Resolution 2067 passes unanimously. Do I hear any other new business? Yes, Senator Coffin's proxy.
I motion to bring up Bill 2068.
Second. Awesome. It has been properly motioned and seconded to bring up Bill 2068, a bill to enhance the effectiveness of ad hoc committees through increased communication. We'll start with the authors and move into discussion from the floor. Senator Daytona.
Yeah, so the overall purpose of this bill is to sort of strengthen the connection we have between ad hoc committees and Senate as they're currently operating. The two major changes that this brings to the bylaws is the first one, it introduces bi-monthly updates that are either given by ad hoc chairs or by the standing committee chairs they fall purview under. Currently, it's once per semester, but even with that is not currently happening, so we thought having a monthly update given by the committee chairs coming to Senate will increase that communication. When they're not there, it will then fall subjective to the standing committee they self-purview under. Additionally, we sort of clarify the purview process that standing committees and ad hoc committees currently have. It will be established within the creation legislation of that ad hoc committee, distributed amongst all standing committees to not overly burden them, and they'll be responsible for connecting with that ad hoc committee and overseeing some of the regulatory elements of it, such as elections.
Okay, Senator Ferguson, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would add to that is we just feel it is super important and it helps to the success of ad hoc committees if there is a strong connection between the ad hoc committee and the Senate as a whole. And by having these monthly updates, it will strengthen that connection and then make ad hoc committees more successful.
Thank you. I'll open it up to discussion from the floor. Senator Wyrick.
One of the primary reasons I chose to sponsor this piece of legislation is the way I became involved in PSG my freshman year is through the ad hoc committee process. I just kind of hopped right in the housing ad hoc committee and then magically became the chairwoman within a month and had no idea what was going on. So, luckily I'm here now. I learned a little bit more, but I think this kind of accountability and check-in process will not only increase retention within PSG, but will really strengthen the initiatives that ad hocs are able to do.
Any further discussion? Senator Reed.
So I know something that has been brought up a ton whenever new requirements are added for pretty much anyone in PSG is that a lot of these roles already have a ton of requirements. So I was just curious, because this is adding additional, monthly updates to Senate, what other duties do ad hoc committee chairs currently have?
Senator Daytona.
I can speak a little bit to that. So currently, one of the only constitutional requirements for ad hoc committee chairs is giving updates to Senate. That's about it in terms of the bylaws, unless I'm misspeaking. Lily can maybe add to that.
As my understanding of the bylaws, that their monthly updates is their only constitutional requirements. Other than that, just colloquially, scheduling meetings, making sure that their committee is on track, doing that sort of thing. But it doesn't really add many constitutional requirements other than making them more often giving their updates.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into a vote on Bill 2068, a bill to enhance the effectiveness of ad hoc committees through increased communication. All those in favor, if you could please raise your name placards. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, seeing none, Bill 2068 passes unanimously. Any other new business? Yes.
I motion to bring up Bill 2069.
It's been properly motioned and seconded to bring up Bill 2069, amendment to Article 3 of the Senate Standing Rules of the Purdue Student Government. So again, we'll start with Senator Ferguson and Senator Daytona, and move into discussion from the floor.
So this bill sort of follows precedent to the first one. It basically ingrains the process of giving updates into our order of business. So it separates the concept of having ad hoc committee updates and having standing committee updates and makes the ad hoc committee thing a new thing within our order of business currently. Currently, we're supposed to have updates every semester, and it's clearly no one's fault that that's not happening. However, having that within our order of business will hopefully ensure that that is occurring.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay, Bill 2069 passes unanimously. All right, any other new business? Yes, Senator Reynolds.
Bill 2070. Oh, a motion to bring up Bill 2070.
Okay, it's been probably motion seconded to bring up Bill 2070, bill to extend the duration of ad hoc committees. So again, let's start with the authors and move into discussion from the floor.
Okay, so basically, Bill 2070 looks over what the intention of an ad hoc committee is and then how long they would last. So basically, ad hoc committees are generally as-needed committees, and they last for 1 year up until May 1st of that academic year. What we're proposing is to extend that timeline to up to 4 years as the committee would decide themselves. It just would add another option to ad hoc committees and whether or not they would want to extend their timeline for longer-term issues such as mental health, sexual assault, accessibility, and things like that. We also feel as though it would increase stability in the ad hoc committee and allow them to look at how they want to run their committee long-term if they so choose.
Open it up to discussion from the floor. Yes, Senator Reynolds.
Sorry, I just wanted to express my support for this bill and like the other two as well. But just to clarify some questions, because we met about this and just some questions I had that I think everyone might not think about asking, but that they would probably like to know as well, is that there is no legislation, correct me if I'm wrong as well, there is no legislation required to announce a new chair. So if something lasted longer than, they're wrong. Okay. we would not need to like repass legislation for it still if the chair switched, if someone graduated and stuff like that. And also it really would create, like in my time here in PSG, we started Mental Health Action Week, we started SAFER, other things as well, and things that are going to continue next year. And this would, and like hopefully after we graduate as well, and this would help that a lot.
Any other discussion? Yes, Senator Wright.
I yield 2 minutes.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to give like a quick little like history on how some things have worked before. So like right now the ad hoc committees have to, I'm forgetting what the word is, basically be abolished on like May 1st of each year. And so I would say kind of historically for some projects that have been more long-standing, some of those ad hoc committees that have been ingrained into like our bylaws and our constitution as something that would occur annually and be supported by Purdue student government. So I wanted to say, like, I think looking at ad hoc committees is like really great, and I'm really glad that you all are doing this because that's how I also kind of got started in Purdue student government, and I think the ad hoc committees can really form around specific issues year to year for students. I guess just the one like caution I would have with this is that there is a lot of like information that gets lost year to year with people like graduating. So I think maybe this in combination with the updates is a good idea, just so that it's not like a new administration and a new set of senators who's like completely unfamiliar with the purpose of the ad hoc committee. So something just to consider, because I know sometimes ad hoc committees kind of get like lost to the wayside as years go on or even semesters go on.
To follow up what Hannah Vice President Dar said is basically the intent is that with the addition of the sort of connection with ad hoc and the standing committees being strengthened, particularly with that purview process being clarified, it'll allow for that transition to be more smooth. Addition, the concept of having that 4 years allows for the combination of having flexibility within Senate while also allowing for us to make a statement that issues like mental health or sexual assault aren't going to go away in a short time period, and allowing for those long-term goals to have that stability of a longer timeline within the legislation. I know that someone who chairs SAFER committee, that often ad hoc committees really create their own sort of environment within PSG. They are varied amongst a lot of different people. I know the people in my committee, most of them aren't involved within PSG. So it's really nice to have that concept of a longer timeline to create those communities and strengthen that process as a whole.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move into a vote. All those in favor of Bill 2070, if you could please raise your name placards. Okay, all those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay, with a vote of 32-0, Bill 2070 passes. Do I hear any other new business? Okay, seeing none, we will move into announcements. Are there any announcements? Yes, well, lots of announcements.
Oh, so sorry. I'm the worst.
Jesus,
Can I go,
Sada.
Hannah, since I'm already embarrassing myself?
You can go, Asada.
Thank you. Hey, y'all, I'm sorry. Thank you for being patient with me. Did just want to say it's election season. Woo woo. Very excited to see some of people in our own organization running. We're so proud of you. But again, I said this 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to say it again. We, Purdue Student Government, we are one unit, we're a family. And even though there are going to be some tense moments, please keep that at the core of your campaign. What you do is a reflection of the organization. But I'm rooting for all of you, as conflicting as that sounds. But I am just so very proud of you. And just wanted to give you that little reminder. Outside of that, please, please, please RSVP to the end of the year banquet. We are just getting things based on what people say. So you'll have your meal preference, your end of year gift preference, those sort of things. But we're ordering to the number that we get. So if you don't, this is going to be the one time where it just won't be possible to fit you in afterwards. Also, our extraordinary senior policy advisor is already working on the end of year report. And so please, please, please connect with him so that we can get data about what you're doing. unlike in the fall, we don't have the spring to make up and add things that we don't get. Our term is done when it's done. And so we just want to make sure that we can include what you have, especially during our Board of Trustees presentation, which is April 9th. So please get those in. Last thing, transition documents. We just had a really riveting conversation, right, about turnover and consistency when people are leaving. This year is a big year because we're losing a lot of brain power. A lot of people are graduating or moving on to other things. And so we want to make sure we can keep what you have here, and transition documents is going to be the way to do that. So Board of Directors, they have a strategy. What I'm going to ask you all to do in your committees is make a committee document together to sort of take off that burden of doing it individually. So that way you can, or even as a college. So I'll let Alex or Pro Tem Griffin Little kind of make the overall decision, but those are going to be due very soon. So be on the lookout for more information, and please start thinking about what do you want to transition and leave here for the next class that comes in. And thank you for being patient with me as I'm virtual, but still wanted to be involved in everything. I appreciate y'all.
Okay, any other announcements? Oh, Senator Griffin Little and Senator Chabon.
Just a quick announcement. Could the two new senators and then committee chairs stick after real quick just to make sure committee assignments are all up to date?
So if you guys may remember, last Senate session, I mentioned that the CLA senators were putting on this career fair. So we have our final details down. As I mentioned before, it is set for April 7th. It's a Wednesday from 10 a.m. to, I believe, 4 p.m. And we do have a registration link open. So we will be posting that in the Slack sometime soon. We will also be sending an email to all of our CLA students. So if you are a part of CLA, I don't know if anyone else in here is, I mean, besides my senators, but in case you guys are interested, it will be also put in Reddit, so that way it's accessible, because we do want everyone to come in here, regardless of whether or not you're a part of CLA or not. Just some things to mention about who is arriving to entice you a little bit, I suppose. We have presentations from the Office of Undergraduate Research, Study Abroad, NISO, in case you guys are interested. And we also have some other organizations and companies coming, include the Children's Museum of Indy, Lufthansa Cargo from Chicago O'Hare. We have the Indiana Child Services and Make-A-Wish Foundation, again, just to entice you all. I recommend, or I guess I would say I would be happy if you guys would please spread the word. We would like to have as many students come as possible, just as a way for some people to, I guess, make some more connections. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either me, Senator Shai, or Senator Kopp. We would love to answer any of your questions, or if you just are really excited and you just want to join right now, I am staying here after for a few minutes, so thank you.
If you have a graphic for that, if you send it to Press Secretary Johnson, we can put it in the next campus-wide. Any other announcements? Okay, I have one. So Molly and I, right before this, got to tour the Union basement renovations, take a hard hat tour. And so the offer was made that if people would like to take that tour, so Purdue Student Government would be interested in taking the tour and kind of getting the update and seeing firsthand what's happening, that they are willing to arrange that. So I'm just wanting to gauge realistic interest if you're interested in that. And if you're not, just tell me, because I don't like to organize things that no one comes to.
I'm interested, Hannah.
Yeah, let's make it official. If you want to come, raise your placards. If you don't, don't raise your placards, it's fine. Okay. So it looks like a few people have been interested. Okay, so I'll reach out to Luke about that and see. It's very quick also, it takes 30 minutes or less. So, awesome. Any other announcements? Okay, seeing none, it's snap time. So let me write this down, and then I will get out the basket. Okay, does anyone have any snaps this week? And for those of you who don't know, snaps are a way to give a shout out to someone who has done something that you think is awesome. All right, Senator Stowe.
I'd like to give snaps to Molly, and I don't know if I can, but Mason, if I can, for writing a really awesome bill. So
Great job, guys. We really appreciate it. This is really good work.
I'm just gonna let you all keep shouting it out because I have to carry this around.
I have technically three Senate snaps. Two to our new senators, congrats. That's very exciting. And then one to my fellow college vac senator, Senator Ferguson, because she's been really awesome, coordinating meeting with our dean, and doing some things with Ag Week as well. So thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Go ahead, Asada. Oops.
Can I go?
Yes.
Okay. I was trying to be respectful this time. I just wanted to shout out a few. First, Vice President Dar and Senator Shi. You guys have done incredible work in terms of P-bill. I've gotten so many DMs and emails just about how important this work is. Again, another thing that just really proud of you and all the hard work you put in. I literally have just been an ominous presence in the group me and answered questions when I need to, but I'm really, really thankful for both of you. Also, Molly and Mason, it's been extraordinary to watch you literally your legislation over the period of a year. And so we're talking about turnover and how things don't continue, but you made it happen. And so although I was not timely enough to sponsor the legislation, I am very proud of you and glad that it was able to be read today. And then also for all the legislation that was on the floor today, I think you really have been taking messages to heart. And so, Hannah, this probably is not convenient for you, but everyone should get a snap because they've really been killing the legislation factor, even though we only have a few sessions left. So very, very thankful for you all. And yeah, just so proud. Been reflecting a lot over these last few weeks. Terms coming to an end. This is probably TMI, very emotional, but I just want you all to know how fulfilling this has been for me over the last 2 years. And so if I don't say it enough, like just very thankful.
You gone?
You're here and you would like a snack, just raise your hand. I'll come to you.
We love you, President Gilmore. Also, snaps for Alex Reed. Happy 21st.
Ow!
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you got some green. I just want to echo real quick. You guys killed it with the ad hoc legislation. I am so proud of you. Like, that was hard. That was a lot of effort, and you guys did a really great job with that. So I'm definitely really proud of both of you.
I'd like to give snaps for Hannah for giving snacks to everyone right now, like a baseball concession. It's really awesome. I appreciate it.
I might have to give you all snacks because we only have 2 meetings left. So, I know. I would say correct. We do have a lot of Cheez-Its though, be warned. Okay, I'm gonna leave some snacks up here. No shame, you need a snack. I understand. So, and with that, we would entertain a motion to adjourn. Senator Reed.
Madam President, I move we do now adjourn.
Okay, it's been properly motioned and seconded to adjourn this meeting. We will attempt to take this vote by voice acclamation. all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Come get a snack.